guest makes this special, but another reason this is special, this is going to be the first on location edition of Beyond the Hype. Listen, we're at the headquarters of Tyler New Media, and our guest today is the CEO of Tyler New Media, the founder, Lamar Tyler, creator of Traffic Sales and Profit, and we're going to have a great conversation today. Welcome to Beyond the Hype, Lamar.
Hey, thank you, Alfred. I'm excited to be here as always.
Well, listen, let's be right up front. You and I are really good friends. We go a long way back. Lamar is a really great friend of Black Enterprise. Speaks at our entrepreneurs conference whenever we ask him to, which it feels like we ask you to do it every year. Always delivers. Our audience always responds. But you're also creator with your lovely wife Ronnie, Black and Married with Kids, which was was and still is the dominant blog site in that space. Ranked on Ebony's top 100 African Americans. I mean, for someone who's like I call a regular brother, you're not a regular brother, but just tell me, give me a kind of bring me up to speed of what's happening now. We're at your brand new headquarters. You just gave me the tour, which is super inspiring. But talk about where you are now and what's going on, particularly as we come out of what we hope is coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, right, what we spend most of our time on now is our brand Traffic Sales and Profit, where we help Black entrepreneurs, right, figure out how to drive more traffic, convert more sales, and grow more profit in their businesses. And like you talked about, over the last year, we were working hard to make sure that Black companies didn't fall by the wayside. Especially the ones like in our charge that we lead, that are in our community. We want to make sure that when we got to this point, they were still here. Like just step one, right? Like still here, still standing, still in the fight for this thing called entrepreneurship. And now we're looking to see, okay, what ways can we take advantage of opportunities that may not have been here before that are coming up? How can we kind of leverage different things in the marketplace that may not have been available before? In doing that through our free Facebook group, Traffic Sales and Profit with Lamar Tyler, content on my Instagram page at Lamar Tyler, our conferences and events. We do free challenges in the group, just trying to really leverage the opportunities right now so that Black entrepreneurs can help close that wealth gap we always talk about through entrepreneurship and change the entire economic outlook of our communities.
Yeah, I'm looking at, we have Traffic Sales and Profits box live, and I'm struck by the three pillars of TSP: youth initiative, community give back, and financial investment. I mean, that kind of just speaks to the things that you've just been talking about, that this is, like most really great Black businesses, is more than about the business, it's about the broader impact. One of the things that I'm always saying to people is that it's better to be a star maker than to be a star. That we need stars, but star making is what we really need. And one of the things I love about you, Ronnie, TSP, is you are obviously entrepreneurs in your own right. You got payroll to meet, you got bills to pay, you got things you're trying to accomplish, but you really got a reputation of making stars out of other entrepreneurs. And I'm speaking of, and I want you to call their names, at least one couple that we've written about in Black Enterprise a couple of times because they were on Shark Tank.
Kim and Tim Lewis, in Chicago.
Yes, Kim and Tim Lewis.
Amazing.
Yeah. What does it mean for you? And let me say this before disclosure. I've spoken at TSP events to really have carved out this lane of not only being a successful business for yourself, but building a platform for other entrepreneurs to shine.
Well, that's a great question. Because for us, like, that's what it's all about. How can we build and equip other entrepreneurs? And I was telling somebody just last week, one of my things, I feel like if I help enough other people rise to success, I'll always be good. Like, I don't have to worry, but like, as long as I'm out here doing the work of building into and helping other people, I'll always be good. And when we look at what we've done, I used to tell people like our biggest achievement was the fact that we were able to hire and employ other Black people, right? Get them opportunities that a lot of times they wouldn't be able to get, give them positions that they wouldn't be able to because of glass ceilings, kind of break through and achieve and different things like that. But now one of my greatest achievements is helping build companies where they go out and hire Black people, right? And brown people. I love it that Kim and Tim, on their operation on the south side of Chicago employs 30, 40 people. Sharice Jones in Richmond, VA employs 30, 40 people. Last I heard, probably more than that now. And always talk about when we look at unemployment rates in the Black community. And we always say, wow, like our unemployment rate is so high. The reason I say it's so high is because Black companies don't employ people, right? Like the majority of them are solopreneurship. So most people, in my estimation, hire people that look like them, people that they have a connection with. So we can't expect all these other communities to hire all of us all the time. We have to do our part, which is building companies that can employ people, that can pay people like living wages, that can provide benefits and opportunities that they may not have otherwise.
And the other point, building on that same idea, also do business with each other. Because
Exactly.
another way we employ people is by saying, listen, I need a service provider for my business. There's this other Black entrepreneur that provides that service. Let's do that. So totally buy into that.
What I've been telling my community is I feel like employing people from our community is the other way to circulate the Black dollar that we never talk about. Because when that comes to me, of course, we got Black vendors and Black service providers that we pay, but also we pay Black families every 2 weeks. Like that's money coming, that our clients who are Black pay to us, we pay it out to our employees, right? And then they put it into the marketplace. So that's the other part of circulating that Black dollar that oftentimes is not discussed.
Now you see why we keep inviting you back to speak at Black Enterprise events. You're channeling the Black Enterprise ethos. Let's make sure our audience, I know what TSP is, but I have the curse of knowledge. I know, so it seems like everybody should know. But talk exactly with our audience exactly what Traffic Sales and Profits is and what the objective of the company is.
Sure. So right now we have an online community, just under 30,000, like purpose-driven Black entrepreneurs that want to grow, that want to scale, and most of them want to leverage the internet in some capacity to do that. So we got, doctors, we got lawyers with law firms, we have e-commerce brands, we have coaches and consultants, all kind of different product and service-based businesses. But what we do is we come in and teach them, okay, this is how you get more traffic and more leads into them. Because we find that there are people that have a great product or service, they can sell it anytime they get in front of somebody, but the problem is they just can't get in front of enough people. And then on the other hand, we have people that have amazing audiences that have an Instagram page with a ton of people coming to it, a Facebook group, or maybe an in-person community where they meet up with pre-COVID or post-COVID every month or every week or something like that. But those people, they have the audience, they just don't know how to actually monetize. And that's where we come in. We can show people, okay, once you have your vision for the business, because what we don't do, part of being in business hours, know what you don't do. What we don't do is we're not the people you come to when you say, hey, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be, right? Help me find my purpose. We want you to work with somebody else on that. But then once you know what you want to do and what you want to be, come to us and we can help you get more people in front of that thing. And then we can help you convert more sales on the back end of it. So you can really, like I said, start to take off and grow and scale. And for us, what this looks like, 2 years ago, right, we came up with a 3-year plan that third year is 2022 next year. And we said in our 3-year plan, we want to have impacted by bringing through our programs. So we do a lot of free programming, but then we also have, paid clients through our 12-month mastermind and a membership site we call Propel. But through our mastermind program, we said we want to have real impact. How can we measure impact? It's hard to measure impact on just the people in the free group. I give you some information knowledge, but I can't really tie it to like what happened with it. But we said, hey, with our direct clients, we want to have had 37-figure and 5 8-figure companies come through our doors, right? Either we attracted them or we helped build them up. And most of them we helped build up through the process. At that time, we might have had 3 7-figure companies. When I say 7-figure, they was like 1,100,000. It was like not like 9 million, right? It might have been, the biggest one might have been 2 or 3 million, right. But we had like 3 or 4. And we've been growing that every year by doing what we're doing. So when we get to our conference this June where we do awards, we would have now inducted into our 7-figure, we call it the Circle of 7. We're up to 24 companies. So when I say we had a vision of 30, when we had that vision of 30, and hopefully somebody listening gets inspired to create a vision for yourself and your company, we didn't know how we would get there. We had to cast that number out and say, okay, 30, it scared everybody in the room. We was like, we don't know where these people gonna come from. We don't know what they're gonna do. We don't have a bunch of them in the wings. But literally here we are 1 year away and we'll blow past that 30 number. We said we have 5 8-figure companies. And at the time, nobody was anywhere near 8. And we've already had 2 of our alums break 8 figures, which is $10 million. And now we're on the path for 3 more to do it this year. So we're on path for that. And can I share my our 10-year goal?
Absolutely.
Alfred, the 10-year goal scared me. Now, I don't scare easily. I ain't no punk. I don't scare easily. We went to a planning session for the business, me and my wife, a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. And we said, okay, like, what do we want? We had a 3-year plan. We're working towards it. What's the 10-year? We shortcut it a little bit. We said by the end of this decade, by December 31st, 2030, what is the plan and the vision? And what we came up with is we said with the way we're going, the acceleration of the programs, and now we're getting better at helping these companies grow. We can do it in a short amount of time. The goal is for us to have worked with 500 seven-figure companies, 50 eight-figure companies, and 5 nine-figure companies.
That is,
and when I told somebody this the other day, I was talking to a buddy of mine, Tommy Powers. Tommy told me, well, Lamar, if you want to run all that down, you need to have one at least $1 billion valuation. Now, I ain't told Ronnie that part yet, because all this kind of stuff freaked my wife, Ronnie. Hey, I ain't told her. Tommy said we need to have $1 billion, but 500 seven-figure, 58 figure, and 5 nine. You're the first person I publicly told this to, so you got to hold me accountable to it.
I'm going to hold you accountable, but this is why this is so important. I'm so glad I've been able to have this conversation with you. So we're coming out of 2020 through 2021, and among the many major issues that have been raised in terms of the disparities and the challenges facing African Americans has been the one that Black enterprise cares about the most, which is the wealth gap, which you kind of you mentioned already, closing this racial wealth gap. And entrepreneurship is definitely one of the major paths we have to take to do that. But as you said, we can't do it with 1.9 million or 2 million Black-owned businesses where only like 2% of them have employees. That is not just creating businesses, it's creating businesses that can employ, because that's how you start moving the needle on wealth creation. So when you talk about setting those types of goals and standards, and why I'm so happy that you were able to take some time to be on Beyond the Hype, is putting some measurable goals about what do we mean when we say close this gap. Exactly. So whether you're doing it as a macro goal for the whole nation, which is, let's close this gap in terms of differences in net worth between these two communities, or whether it's your own ambition. Here's, like you said, put the goal out there, put the vision out there. It's not about how you want to get there, it's having a place to go in the first place.
Exactly.
So this is just very, very, very powerful.
And that goal should scare you too. Because like I said,
we've seen sharing, if the goal doesn't scare you, you ain't thinking big enough.
That's it.
Well, talk to me now, we're right kind of where I want to get to this conversation, in terms of both the challenges and more importantly, the opportunities as we begin to emerge from this pandemic. You got the federal government in the name of the new Biden administration saying, oh, we're going to spend $2 trillion on infrastructure. My opinion is if that doesn't create some Black billionaires, something went totally wrong. You got all these companies pledging to pour money into, Black entrepreneurship and investing in Black communities. You have an economy that has been, depressed, if not recessed, because of the global pandemic. So that means there's a lot of pent up spending, pent up consumer demand, pent up money to be had. And so we could be at the threshold as Black entrepreneurs of what I believe could be one of the most profitable periods in recent memory, but only if we're proactive about going after that. If you agree with that general assessment of what lies before us, what is it that you're looking at as an entrepreneur yourself, or what is it are you sharing with those people who are in the TSP community, or those who aren't in the TSP community but should be?
Sure, I totally agree with what you said. One of the things I often say is that whenever there's crisis on one hand, there's opportunity on the other. And too often times, I think what happens is we see crisis and we get scared and we run away, right? And the people that receive that wealth transfer, because every time, like I said, this happens, that wealth transfers, most time we just not on the receiving end of it. The people that's on the receiving end of it are always saying, what is the opportunity that lies in front of me in this situation, in this time right now? And a few months ago or within the last year, a lot of that was the fact that, hey, let's not take this laying down. Let's, run straight into the fire. Let's look at what people are going to need. How can we serve them? What are people's fears and how can we overcome those fears so that we can still get our essential products and services in front of them? Over the last year, we had a lot of e-commerce companies. They had their biggest quarters, their biggest years ever. And at the same time, when I'm looking and we're talking about opportunity now, we had a few clients that were in travel. And travel, of course, as you know, was one of the industries that was rocked the hardest because literally you were not even allowed to travel. Everything was shut down and stopped. But what I'm seeing now from those travel companies that position themselves for greatness. We got a client, Shanteria Early from Travel Divas. She is like, when I say she had her group and her community ready to go. As soon as they flipped that switch and said, hey, the borders are open, opportunities are open, hotels are open, she was able to catapult her business, which is doing well before, even to the next level because last year when things got tough, she didn't give up. She took some punches and she took some punches, some hits, but she did not give up. She sat, she got herself ready. She hardened up her systems and positioned herself so that, hey, when things get ready, I'm gonna be ready to go. And now what they're calling, I was talking to a friend about this recently. I read an article, they're calling travel now revenge travel. They said people have so much pent up energy to get out, right? It's revenge travel. It's going to be one of the best years ever for travel. So I would think about that. What are things that people haven't been able to do that they're dying to get out and do right now, right? Things that they weren't allowed, places they weren't allowed to go. And what's the opportunities for that? And then the other thing is that always thought that when we come out of this thing, that it wouldn't necessarily go back to normal. And I think a lot of people think, hey, things go back to normal. Nah, there's a new normal and there's a new way of living. So as we incorporate our new way of living, one of the easy things is, okay, there'll be masks around forever now on, right? Like before, if you were in Asia or something like that, or you saw, people coming from Asia, you would see them having masks on. Like, hey, what's that all about? Now we know what it's all about.
Right.
And for us, right, that's just like an easy example, but there are things now that are part of the new normal. For restaurants, curbside pickup is part of the new normal, right? It's way more like, hey, I'm picking it up and I'm taking it home because people are accustomed to it. So what are the industries that have accelerated over the last year? What are industries that were stopped or slowed down now have pent up demand? How can we insert ourselves into those different places?
You make that's this point about travel. I'm speaking for myself. I've been out of the country once already. And I'm saying, because I was one of those guys, I've talked about this on social media. I didn't come from a background of traveling for vacation. That wasn't my family, that was my family story. I'm from a working poor household, a working class community. The whole idea of taking time off to go someplace was not part of my upbringing. And then I was working, I'm grinding all the time. So I only traveled to work. I went to conferences. Man, since this pandemic, like you said, I'm here in Atlanta, in part because I'm like, I already talked to Lamar on the phone. I already talked to him by Zoom. I'm going to see Lamar, my dude, Ash Cash. I'm going to be in Atlanta. I want to go. I want to go. I've been to Dominican Republic. So you're right. I'm a living example of someone who didn't even think of travel as being that important. Yeah. And now it's a high priority for me to go and do. And so you're right. That's a great example of many examples that I think are going to be, if you're, Earl Grey's our late founder, Earl Grey's, and we're still celebrating the 50th anniversary of Black Enterprise, used to say, get in the way of the money. Like, find where the money's going and jump in front of it.
Yes.
And this seems like a prime environment for us to do that.
It is. And it ties into what you were saying a few minutes ago as well. When we get in front of the money, how can we do it, but also try to do it at the next level? Because like so many Black entrepreneurs, we say, all right, we're leaving our 9 to 5. I want to start this business. But in actuality, what we often create is a new job.
Yes.
Because I'm maybe making comparable to what I made, working 9 to 5, right? Maybe a little bit more. But what most of them know is that okay, I got this new business I started. New business. I'm making six figures oftentimes is the holy grail of like the first step of a business owner. I want to get to 6 figures. What I tell them is that, hey, when you get to 6 figures, in your business, 6 figures is not really 6 figures. Like, you don't take home, when your business makes 6 figures, you don't take home 6 figures. You got, fees, you got expenses, you got cost of goods of physical product. You may be paying somebody else some other service. You got vendors, you got your bookkeeping, you got legal. Like 6 figures is not 6 figures.
And what about the big B that you have when you have a job? Bennies.
Yes.
I was telling you, you got to build into health, the things that you were used to having that in many ways you might have taken for granted. Now you got to find a way to provide that. So you're right. 6 figures is an okay first goal, but it's not really 6 figures. And that's what we often say. It's like, okay, that's like you said, that's the first goal. Right. That's the first milestone. So like, not to minimize age, like a first milestone is great. You get there, but it's not the destination. Right.
It's a milestone on a path where you say, okay, I've checked it off my list. I've got here. If I got it, hopefully I validated that, I got some type of product market fit. I got people that want to buy this thing and they're interested in it. But now I need to keep going to the next milestone and get comfortable, because oftentimes, like I said, at that level, many people actually bring home less than they brought home when they actually work for somebody else, except the difference being they work way more hours. They got way more responsibility and they got way less security.
Yeah.
And that's the part we often don't talk about, right? But like, people need to be aware so that when they get into this thing, they say, again, 100K is not the destination. It's just a milestone on the journey.
We had speakers at our most recent Black Enterprise Wealth Building and Real Estate Summit. and it was a panel I moderated on this topic of entrepreneurship as a pathway to wealth, but having to approach it in a new way, that we need to create assets, entrepreneurship as an asset, not entrepreneurship as a new job. And one of the speakers, I'm trying to remember his name, his last name is Dwin, Damian Dwin is a venture capital guy. His thing was that we really need to think about, again, creating assets that grow and that businesses that grow beyond the employment of the founder. But the other thing that the other panelist was executive at Walmart named who's a tax guy at Walmart, Wayne Hamilton, talked about that people think of businesses needing financing, and yes, access to capital is always a big challenge. But he said, but what Black businesses really need is customers. And so it's to your point that the more customers you have, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more people you can hire, and that creates the kind of asset that Damian Dwin was talking about, which is an asset on the books. And the other thing that Damian said, that if you're not thinking a huge, big idea, like you talked about leveling up, then you're not really an investable. Like you got to go for the big idea. And so I just want to underscore your point and what you do with your TSP family, which is to think of the big number, not the 100,000 is a good goal along the way, but the million, the 10 million, the 20 million, the 100 million is where we really need to be thinking.
And you're so right. And having that, I found like so much of it begins with education, right? So it's two things: education, and then just being able to see it around you. That's why I'm always from the mountaintops shouting out Black enterprise. I did an interview and somebody said, well, you must have grown up in a family of entrepreneurs, Lamar. Who are your family entrepreneurs? I said, nobody. I said, who are my family entrepreneurs? That magazine, because I'll pick up Black Enterprise magazine and I would read through the pages and I would read about people and say, you know what? I see it now, so I think I can be it. And it expands my mind about what's even possible for me. And, going to the conferences and seeing, Lifetime Achievement Awards given to people I didn't recognize the names, but when they told their story, I recognized the impact. Like literally, it's just those type of things. And you're right. We just have to educate people and let them know about what is possible, what is attainable. Let them know that, hey, guess what? People that look like you, that talk like you, that walk like you are able to achieve these things. And then, I'm always talking about standing on the shoulders of those that came before us, like Earl Graves Sr., like John H. Johnson. One of the things I often think of, this is real life, y'all. I'm not, for everybody watching, I'm not. It sounds good, but this is real life. I often think about this. What I often think about, Alfred, is if these individuals accomplished what they accomplished in the 60s, in the 70s, right? Something earlier than that, who am I to complain about anything going on right now? Well, Lamar, there's racism. Not like it was back then. Lamar, the man trying to keep me down. Not like they were trying to keep, John H. Johnson down in Chicago, 40, 50 years ago. So I just look at the accomplishments so oftentimes of so many people that are putting so much work for us to get here. And it's really, I'm not creating anything. I'm just picking up the torch and hopefully running the next leg of it so that I can pass it on to the next generation. And as a people, we can keep building.
I always like to close out or the back end of Beyond the Hype conversations with a forward focus. And so we're more than halfway through 2021. The economy is global and national is opening back up as people are becoming vaccinated. Like you said, restrictions are being lifted depending on your state. You don't have to mask, you have to social distance. Traveling is opening up. Restaurants and other businesses are being full capacity. It's not the old normal, it's a new normal, but we are getting to the point where we have a functioning economy again. What do you think I want to talk to the entrepreneurs who are not in the TSP family, because if you're in the TSP family, there's a mindset I think that already exists. But the entrepreneurs who are not in the TSP family, who may not necessarily have the same mindset that you might have, what do you think needs to be the priority of their thinking as we move into 2022? And then what do you think we have to communicate to Black entrepreneurs in general, including the next generation, about closing the wealth gap through entrepreneurship going forward?
Yeah. So for the first part, when I think about, like I said, the rest of this year going into 2022, like I said, I'm just thinking about what is the opportunity, like what's coming, what do people need and what do people want? Because also what's been pent up, people have been doing okay with what they need for the last year. What they haven't been doing okay, they have to put to aside a lot of things they want, right? They wanted to work out at the gym publicly, right? They needed to work out. They worked out at home, but they wanted to be around other people in that area. They wanted to go to sporting events, right? So they watched it on TV, but it wasn't the same. So in your local area, in your product, your market, whatever it may be, what are the things, again, that people wanted that they weren't able to get that now they'll be able to have and get access to? Always start at, like, what are the problems and challenges that people have, and how does your product or service actually overcome that problem or challenge that people are facing? And if you don't know, what I would do, everybody already has an audience. You have an email list. You have people following you on social media. You have a customer list. I would reach out to them and say, hey, we know we've been through a lot over the last, 1 year plus, but I want to know, what is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now as it relates to blank? And blank is whatever your industry is. If I'm a marriage counselor, like I say, it relates to your relationship coming through the pandemic and being in such confined quarters for so long, as it relates to your children, as it relates to your footwear, like no matter what industry it is, reach out to them and find out what that challenge, that problem is. It'll do two things. Number one, it'll tell you what the problem is. Number two, it'll tell you how they articulate the problem, how they actually speak about it. So that then when you begin to craft marketing messages around it, you're speaking in the same language that they use, not experts speak, because oftentimes people in business are the expert, but the real language that people use to express what they're going through. And when you pull that into your marketing mix, then when they see it, there's like a dog whistle, right? Their antennas go up and they say, you know what? That person knows what I'm going through. That message was just for me. And what was the second part of the question? Because it was a good one. I want to make sure I get it.
Well, it was the broader question of what we need to be communicating to Black entrepreneurs in general, particularly the next generation, about leveraging entrepreneurship to close the wealth gap in a way that may be more effective than what got us here to this point.
Perfect. So, and I knew it was something I really wanted to answer. Thank you for repeating that. Mm-hmm. What I've been telling people, and I've been telling my community, and it's not sexy. People, right? Somebody gonna be arguing in the comments on this thing. You might get an email on this one, Al. So much of what we talk about now is laptop lifestyle. Because it is possible to just grab a laptop and be sitting on the beach and I'm doing my thing. I don't have to, I'm not responsible for anybody. I don't have to report to anybody, any of that. But what I'd like to say is that we're too far behind for all of that. So even though I could be sitting on the beach right now, and I could just me and my wife, and I could easily run an enterprise probably that nets the same amount of money with just me and her, right? I mean, we wouldn't gross as much, but the net, take home would probably be same or similar. I can't do that. And the reason I can't do that is because everybody before me didn't work that hard for me to live a laptop lifestyle and leave the rest of my community behind. Wow. So the charge I'm making to people inside of TSP and everyone watching this is that even though you could do that, what I'm encouraging you to do is to go bigger and to go further. And for you to say, hey, even though I could, just do this thing and do everything online, what would it look like if you employed 1 or 2 people from our community? What would it look like if you gave 1 or 2 brothers and sisters an opportunity to actually grow, right? To have a stable income, to get a position that everybody else would ignore them for because they got 2-strand twists, because they got locks, because, it's a brother with a beard, right? These are the people that we need to be hiring because we know they're brilliant. We know they're creative. We know they're smart. And the only way most of them will get opportunity is that if we're the business owners being the ones that actually give it to them. So I'm gonna make the charge to you to think about, okay, what can I do? Like I said, not just to build this so that's enough for my family, but to build an enterprise that's enough to provide for the actual entire community.
Man, mic drop, bro, mic drop. I want to close out with my favorite thing about you. And, I have this title or this term that I use for people like you. I don't always use it in public. I'm gonna use it now. I used it when I interviewed Gwen Jameer, because I told her this story. Okay. I interviewed her for the series. I call her the executioner. That you guys are executioners. In other words, I'm an ideas guy. I was talking to Ash Cash earlier today. Everybody come up with great ideas. As a journalist, I come up with great ideas. I said, but if you don't execute, it don't matter. And you, Ronnie, Gwen Jameer, Ash Cash, I can go on and on and on. What I admire about you guys, what I think makes great entrepreneurs, just like Earl Graves, just like his son, my CEO, Butch Graves now, is that it's one thing to come up with a great idea. It doesn't matter until somebody executes. And this is an environment where as we went through a year where it was hard to execute life, much less execute business, we were forced to sit still. I am more sensitive now and I have a more urgent feeling now about doing, not just thinking, not just talking. We've been friends a long time, so you already know my journey. Talk to me about why now is the time to do whatever you're going to do to actually execute as opposed to talk about, oh, I had this great idea and ideas aren't enough.
Like you said, I think it's a few reasons. A lot of people realize over the last year that tomorrow's not promised. And we've been hearing that for years. We've heard like the saying is not new. A lot of people over the last year have realized that, hey, things can get real fast. A lot of people over the last year have realized that, guess what? You never know what's coming around that corner. Last February, I took a group of my clients. We were in Zappos headquarters in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we walked in, we were spending all day to learn about company culture and how they do onboarding and team building and all this stuff. We saw they have a tour. And as soon as we walked in, the lady said, hey, Lamar, I'm sorry, we can't do, I know like a big part of our day was doing the tour. We can't do the tour today. And she said, we got to do the whole training down here on the first level in this conference room. And we were all, disappointed. And she was like, hey, you heard about coronavirus in China. Well, we're part of Amazon. Amazon owns us now and they shut down, all tours, all access. They didn't even want you guys to come, but I told them you were already in the city, so we had to do it. And we were looking at each other like, they crazy. This is banana. Like, why won't they let us walk around? They're blowing things out of proportion. 2 weeks later,
wow,
Disney parks shut down. The NBA said the season is suspended, right? And I'm always one to say, hey, I like to follow the money. When I see that kind of money stop, I say, oh, this is serious. So again, like you never know what's coming around the corner. So if not now, when? There is no guarantee of, hey, I'm gonna do it next month. Hey, I'm gonna do it next year. I'm gonna get myself together. Like today is a day for you to get started and moving forward. And especially in our community, one of the things I always say is that we're the ones we've been waiting for. So there is not some magical, hopefully he does something to help, but it's not some magical agenda that President Biden is going to put into place to change everything in the Black community in a 4-year span. If it's going to change, it's going to have to happen with me, you, and the people that are watching this today being the actual spark that begins to make things happen. And as we, like I said, continue to carry that torch from the people that before us and hand it off to the people that's coming after us. Man,
perfect note to end this conversation on, Lamar. Thank you for allowing Black Enterprise Beyond the Hype to be your special guest at Tyler New Media, my first on-location interview. Great Black-owned business, creating other great Black-owned businesses. Lamar, my best blessings to you, Ronnie, and the whole family, both your family and your TSP family. Thank you for being a guest on the show.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it as always.
This is Alfred Edmund Jr., SVP, Executive Editor-at-Large at Black Enterprise, and you just listened to another great edition of Beyond the Hype. Take care, and I'll see you next time.